joining us is Mr. Billy Gillis-Harry, President of PETROAN. And we hope that Mr. Dele Tajuddin, former Chairman, IPMAN Southwest Zone, will be joining us much later on. Well, let's begin with Dr. Gillis-Harry, who is President of PETROAN, and he joins us from our Abuja studio. Mr. Gillis-Harry, I'd like to start with the concern, first of all, before we go into the subsidy or not conversation. This is of immediate concern to Nigerians, despite the fact that the price of crude oil has dropped in the international market. We haven't seen a requisite impact in the pump price of petrol. As a matter of fact, Vanguard is reporting this morning that depots are increasing the pump price of petrol. Would like an explanation from you.
Good morning, Bokola and team. Good morning, Nigeria. Thank you for having me. Your question is simply to address why crude oil prices are coming down internationally and it's not impacting the pump price. Well, for us in PETROAN, our assignment, so to say, is find where there is petroleum product, get it, transport it, and ensure that Nigerians have access to petroleum products. So the prices that you see in any of our PETROAN retail outlets will be a direct result of the prices that we are paid from the depots. If the refinery sells at a certain price, the depots will sell at a slight markup, and then there will be a logistics involved in it that will now take it down to our stations, and our landing price will then determine what our own prices will be. And as usual, our PETROAN members take the brunt because our margins have never changed. It has always maintained that all-time low. But we believe, that this process will not kill our businesses totally. Rather, it's bringing quite a lot of innovations. It's also giving us some very strong sense of financial discipline. And we believe that it will be much better in the coming weeks or coming months.
All right. Well, we understand our second guest has joined us now. One prof told us here on this show that when the international market raises the prices, it's like using an elevator. The prices in Nigeria will just jump up. And when those prices come down, it uses the stairs, But I understand that Comrade Dele Tajuddin has joined us live on the program, the former chairman of IPMAN Southwest Zone. Perhaps you can also just speak to why we're seeing those numbers or seeing that delay in the prices of petrol prices come down, because you are also a player, independent petroleum marketers, So why is that delay? All right. All right, we understand that the network is a bit tricky with us this morning. Let's bring back Mr. Billy Gillis-Harry into the conversation. So you have been quoted by saying that if we return to fuel subsidy regime, it means that is a lack of love for Nigeria. In fact, you have criticized the calls for the return of fuel subsidy in one of your interviews. I'm wondering why. I'm sure many Nigerians who want to hear you explain to them why you do not want them to return to how life was before this administration came on board, buying fuel for, I think, 600 naira plus.
Okay, so that does not go too far to get a clear explanation. I'll try to make it as simple as possible. Up to 2023, when fuel subsidy removal became effective, we would dare say that we needed to be sure that there were quite a lot of preparation that should be towards that. But whatever it is, it's better to start something that is good for the country on a long-term basis than not starting. we were buying fuel from, the fluctuations of prices, an average of 600 naira. And we were budgeting anything between 600 million to 600 billion to about 2.3 billion for that particular segment in the budget. Now, when you go to the market, when you go to the retail outlet, what was happening at that time was that the government of Nigeria, through NNPC, was subsidizing that product for between 300 and 400 naira per liter. And what happens to that money? You have taken 10 liters of product to your, I pass my neighbor generator, but the balance of that money, what happens? Corruption sets in, mismanagement, lies. So when you have a president who knows what he wants to do and wants to reset the button to ensure that Nigeria gets better, that 400 naira is no longer there to be paid, because one, Nigeria was not earning the money. We were borrowing it. And if you look at the budget of 2023 before June, you see that there is a deficit of 1.3 trillion naira. And that was going to come from debts, from borrowing. So when you have that kind of economic situation that's impacting on Nigeria for so many decades, for so many years, how do you think that this country will become the world power that is designed to be? Nigeria has the capacity to be a world power. We have the requisite intelligence, Nigerians, very, very hardworking Nigerians who have, knowledge and ideas of how to build things from scratch, from ground zero. So we needed that fund for infrastructure. We needed that fund for other developmental areas. The only thing that we have also said is that while that money is now being saved, it should be applied to improving our other transportation methods like the railway, ensuring that our CNG projects are very effective and efficient. And other than that, if after all 2023, fuel subsidy was an issue, was a commitment kind of made by all the presidential candidates that is going to be removed. So why is it that close to election, any one individual will now bring subsidy back as a basis on which, competition, fair advantage, unfair advantage should be sought? Is it to just blind the thinkings of Nigerians? We are not fools. We know exactly what is happening. What is happening is that the fuel subsidy was draining this country to its very last blood. And we needed to be sure that that did not work. Now, that's our point, and that's why we don't think that subsidy should be returned. Rather, there should be application of these gains of subsidy in other areas that will keep growing Nigeria's economic, political, human capital, infrastructural development.
Let's take the question back to Mr. Tajudeen. I just want to confirm that Mr. Tajudeen can hear us. Can you hear us, Mr. Tajudeen, sir?
Yes, I can hear you clearly. Good morning.
Good morning, sir. So we are on this issue about whether or not subsidy should go. What brought this conversation is basically because of the macro-micro disconnect. That is the basis. The government is having a field day. The subnationals are having FAC allocations that are big, but the people are suffering. 1,200 naira per liter, at least for the PMS, and that has a knock-on effect on inflation, cost of living, and can go on and on. Atiku Abubakar has come to say, I'm making a slight U-turn on adjusting to target subsidy on production so that the knock-on effect can get to the people. Now, that has its own pros and cons. Even this one that we're operating, it's not as if it's foolproof. People still smuggle this goods out of the place. We still have other importers bringing product. So let's look at it broadly from the point of the downstream, midstream, downstream sector. What exactly will be wrong if there is a targeted subsidy on crude so that when it gets to the refineries, people like you and maybe Mr. Billis Harris can get these things at cheaper rate to all of us right here? It's the other impact is perhaps going to be lesser revenue for the government? This is just me trying to manage a lot of information in my head.
Okay, thank you. Good morning and good morning, viewers. So when you talk about the negative effect of removal of subsidy, I expect you to also state the gains that are there. Let us ask ourselves, if the subsidy has not been removed, which condition are we going to be in Nigeria today? Those are questions that we need to be honest with, and we have to say the truth, because removing the subsidy, we all know that all the three main presidential candidates in the build-up of 2022-2023 election, they all acceded to it that they are going to remove subsidy, and subsidy was scam and the rest. And you and I know that truly subsidy was scam. A lot of people benefited. But now that the subsidy is removed, so it's now, the benefit is now going to so many people in terms of education, in terms of road infrastructure, and so many, and you can count on like that. And what I expect people to understand is that when you are trying to restructure a country, you cannot do it in 1, 2, 3 years. Let us be honest with ourselves. Even our small-scale businesses, when you run into troubled water and you want to restructure your business, you cannot tell me that we can get it out of it in 1 year, in 2 years or 3 years, as the case may be. So for me, it is a right thing in the right direction, which the government are taking. All we need to do is to exercise patience. And when you want to do things, it has to be holistic. It can't be partial. For me, as far as I believe, it cannot be partial. Let us persevere. We are going to get to the end of it. That's just my own basic advice for masses and for all of us that understand the importance of restructuring Nigeria, because where Nigeria was heading to, honestly, between you and I, where Nigeria was heading to, if this decision has not been taken yet, the president said it in his campaign that he was going to take tough decisions. I don't know why people are persecuting him now, because he said it, he never hid it from people. He said he was going to take the decisions that are going to be tough, but at the end of the tunnel, there's going to be light. He said it. You can recap to when he was campaigning. He said it that I'm going to take a very serious decisions that is going to affect you, but I know that at the end of the tunnel.
Mr. Tajidin, before I yield to my colleagues, so that we don't fall into aggregation bias, I was very clear on the macro gains. But more people are now in poverty, whether it's multidimensional, which is non-income, or literal poverty, and the cost of living is super high. The argument on the other end is the fact that some people are saying that the importers of petroleum products, if this targeted production subsidy is implemented, of course, all of them said they are going to remove subsidy. I don't think that's arguable. We can also see the macro gains from this, but we have to look at both sides of the coin. Saying that importers of petroleum product will be knocked out of business. Is that also a big fear from your end as a player in the sector?
No. There's nothing to fear about. But the only problem that we are facing in the industry is this incessant increase in the prices of petroleum products. Like I engaged your colleague yesterday. You see, when it has effect on the petroleum marketers too. For example, in the last 1 week, we had an increase last week, Wednesday, it was 20 naira. This week, yesterday again, we had an increase of 15 naira. You see, when there is an increase like that, we don't have a correspondence increase on our profit, but that is one. Number two, you have to go about looking for more capital to do your business when it is increased. And also, one thing that we marketers don't like is when you continue to change your price from one time to the other. You see, you have to call your engineers to come and change the pump price. In fact, your customers at times, they feel that maybe you are trying to play funny on your pumps when you continue incessantly changing the working on the pumps. It is not good for us. So that will lead me to the fact that the government has to do something very seriously about the 4 refineries that we have. Because when you have just 1 or 2 people having refinery, that is not too good for a competitive economy. So that's my take. Government has to do something about all the 4 refineries, and they must be intentional about it. They must be serious about it, but it's not about we are going to do this, we have to do it. They must be serious about it. That is one of the things that's going to solve the problem, because I expected the prices of petroleum products to be coming down, not to be going up again.
So we understand your logic. This poses a challenge to marketers in many different ways. Marketers, either those who are importing the product or those who are buying directly from Dangote. It is what Dangote offers as a price, ex-depot price, that would determine what marketers, either importers or those who buy from him, would sell. But Mr. Atiku, who is promising subsidy for production, is saying that he's not subsidizing importation. He, in his document, I quote, "We will move subsidy from importation to production, from middlemen to Nigerian refineries, and from unverifiable claims to verifiable barrels." So if, for instance, the major domestic refiner, which would be Dangote, gets crude oil for maybe $60 per barrel as against what it is sold in the international market, and that forces down the price of petrol that has been refined, wouldn't everyone be, the major gains, and particularly for the Nigerian people who should be enjoying their commonwealth? Let me bring this to Mr. Gillis-Harry. This one is for you. Wouldn't everyone be, the big gainers at the end of the day?
Well, the first thing that is very critical in this issue is not just, sentences or, just words. How much is the cost of producing 1 barrel of crude oil today? What are the vagaries? What are the chances of it moving up or down? So you have to get those details. When those details are taken care of, then you can now ask yourself as a Nigerian, what is the input you're making other than having the crude oil given to you by God? What is the technology? What is the technical thing? What is the financial input? What is the cost of money? You have to check on that. So on the surface, it seems very, very nice. Oh, I'm going to subsidize crude oil production. How? And how does that impact in what the price of refined product will be in any PETROAN retail outlet? So the thing is that we personally, I would say that we are tired of certain political conversations that play yo-yo with the economy and the life of Nigerians, and that we should begin to interrogate. I'm happy that Bokola, you and your team are interrogating this subject. But I also will advise that sentiments should not at any time be put. We should look at the real issues of how this will grow Nigeria. How this will, now we are talking about poverty. Everybody is becoming creative, efficiently creative in this season, learning what to do.
Cheaper price, doesn't that bring down the overall cost of purchase of crude oil, and by extension what you incur on production as well?
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. So let us know the numbers. If we have the numbers, then we can interrogate it and look at it whether there is indeed empirical evidence to make that claim, or it's just a banter that's coming up because there's a political contest that's coming, and maybe because of the current situations of how Nigerians perceive this particular policy, it will sway opinion. But the reality is, it's not. This decision of removing subsidy should have been taken since 1979. And in 1999 to 2008 years after 1999, They had all the opportunity to be able to, make sure that whatever subsidy that is there is efficient. But go and take a look at the crespit of corruption, of the kind of claims of companies who were paid money that never brought 1 liter of product in the name of subsidy. So there are so many things that we, because if you want to start finding out, rot, it will come out. So there's no need for this. What we are saying today now is beginning to bring discipline. Recently, the Minister of Finance reeled out the gains so far. Now, those gains, what we advise is that those gains should be applied to very practical, visible means of making Nigerians to come out of poverty. Buying PMS, yes, as critical as it is, that's why we take our job serious, because we know the role we play to ensure that everyday economic activities of Nigerians are driven from our retail outlets, efforts. And to that extent, we are committed and we are doing the best we can. So if any one player will come and engage with us, we are more than happy to interrogate the facts with them. Yeah. So it's just not enough to make a statement, and of course, I don't know if we are reading a translated statement, because, if you are reading directly, then you should be able to interpret that also effectively. So our advice is that let us look at real issues. The election that's coming should be focused on real issues, real matters that will develop Nigeria, give the Nigerian the very, very benefit that is required. And yes, let me also say this, subsidy of what? There could be subsidy in food. There could be subsidy in transportation. And these can be applied in certain ways that will be efficient, but not for a product that is not helping us, that we are going to be borrowing trillions of naira. So regardless of how you want to tweak it in production.
Yeah, let's bring in your colleague as well, who is also a major player in the market as well. I would like to perhaps bring in also the comments of the presidential candidate of the Accord Party. In his exact words, he says, let the data speak. Tell Nigerians exactly what it costs to produce the crude, what it costs to refine it, what it costs to transport it, and what every margin represents. Then we can have an honest conversation about subsidy. I remember the last time we had you, Mr. Gillis-Harry, and I said, it looks like we're running the courts when it has to do with Nigeria's oil and gas sector. It looks like we have cabals, because the level of alleged and perceived corruption in that sector is difficult to comprehend. But let's bring in Mr. Tajuddin. Mr. Tajuddin, the Accord presidential candidate is saying that he will peg price at the pump price at 605 naira per liter. This sounds very interesting to millions of Nigerians, but is that possible?
Yeah, that is not correct. I'm not so sure that is correct. You see, we have an agency, NMDPRA. Before they come into a conclusion of a price, they put up all the templates. I think the man needs to meet with the DPR, because I'm not in position to give you the template of what becomes what. But I don't think in the same environment, if a cost of product can be 600 and it will be sold at 1,200, that is not correct. Like I said, there is always a template of how they come into a conclusion of what price is reasonable. That is not very correct. Let him meet NMDPR is a government agency, and every presidential candidate has a right to meet with them and ask them what exactly makes the price of petroleum product to be where it is, even though it is deregulated, people can sell at their home price, but no reasonable marketer will sell with more than either 20 naira, 15 naira, or 30 naira margin, as we do now. That is the margin that we have now, about 20 naira on any product. So for me, I think that's a political statement and it's not realistic.
Let's take it to Mr. Gillis-Harry, and let's put it out there. There is no. Let's take it to Mr. Gillis-Harry, and also Mr. Tajuddin. But I'm directing these questions to Mr. Gillis-Harry. if you look through, there is no crime in paying subsidy if you have the ability to. What we're debating is how sustainable can it be, whether it's the United States, whether through production or tax support, or whether it's Japan or Indonesia. I can go on and on as to countries that are putting one form of, as a matter of fact, our upstream sector, what is it called now, Bonga Southwest Apparel, is getting a very Father Christmas incentive, 11.5, that is $11.50 incentive for them to get us an FID to begin to explore oil in Bonga Southwest. And I think the estimation is about 20 billion in terms of developing the FSPO. But where I'm going to with, I don't want to be too bogus on this, is the fact that it's interesting how people demonize subsidy as though it's a bad thing. If you can sustain it, why can't you do it? It's for the good of everybody. And I think it's also interesting that you say things like, what will develop the country in the interest of the people? What else is going to be in the interest of the people if they can get more affordable PMS? So that's why we're interrogating the idea. Everybody is bringing the idea to the table. President Bola Tinubu has implemented his own idea. We can see the impact, we can see the gains, we can see the down risk, we can see the up risk. Atiku Abubakar has now come to say, I want to make a U-turn on my own end and see what I can do. Ashim is doing his own. So it's an important conversation. So I don't think it's fair for us to dismiss the conversation because we disagree. So talk to us about the issue of what kind of incentive, let me put it like this, what kind of incentive without distorting the gains that we have achieved can help bring pump price down as soon as possible? I don't know what as soon as possible means, whether it's 1 year or 3 months or whatever, because I can tell you for a fact, whatever is being done is inadequate to be able to cushion the effect of what this has brought at the micro level. My words are very careful.
Well, nobody, personally, I do not demonize anybody who has intention to make its own political pitch by any means possible. What I will argue with is what impacts us as Nigerians. I'm an ordinary Nigerian, and whatever benefits all Nigerians will benefit me. And so if I have the means to be able to speak on behalf of 2 people or 3 people, or even just for myself, I will say exactly what is the truth and what I perceive to be correct. Now, subsidy is not a crime, but it should also not be used as a weapon of deceit of any kind. We have to go back from at least 1977, let's say 1977, and look at the trajectory of how this subsidy has impacted Nigeria. And if that data is collated, you certainly see the need not to even talk about subsidizing petrol. What we should be talking about is what we should do with funds that are getting into the purse of the federal government, the state, and the local government. So I'm sure that if today Nigerians begin to earn a minimum income of, say, 150,000, which means that a cleaner will earn about 150,000. I'm sure that even that cleaner can afford to buy diesel or petrol to run, and I pass my neighbor generator to do hair services or whatever. So that, for me, that's where we should focus. What we should focus is we should never get back to the regime where we have to borrow money to pay for petrol subsidy. We shouldn't do that because it's not going to help us. What will help us is to use...
We're still borrowing even after having 15+ trillion naira gains on subsidy. Nigeria is still borrowing. So let's get that straight. Are Nigerians better off after the removal of subsidy? Certainly not. We must anchor the conversation at this point. It's clearly, a very instructive one. And one of the things that has come through is that we need data. And we're hoping that you and Mr. Mr. Tajuddin rather, would be able to give us data of what it costs to produce crude, to refine it, and transport it. We must thank you very much. Dr. Billy Gillis-Harry is the president of the Petroleum Retail Owners Association of Nigeria, and Mr. Dele Tajudeen is a former chairman, IPMAN Southwest Zone. Thank you so much, gentlemen, for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having us.